Hi, welcome back in. Welcome to my channel, Music Alina. How are you today? I'm doing very well. Today we're going to talk about Metallica. So I'm not going to get into the background or the nitty-gritty of Metallica. If you are watching this video, chances are you know who they are, you know their history, you know the music. People have very strong opinions about Metallica. Conversations I've had about the band, about albums, about songs, you know, voices get raised, blood pressure goes up, punches are thrown. No. You know, the thing is, people who have like rock solid, immovable opinions about this band, I feel like it's kind of hard to justify only one opinion about them, because as a band they have evolved so much. They have gone in so many different directions that I feel like at this point in their career, what are they, like 30 years into their career at this point or something, you can easily find things to love about the band and things to hate about the band. So before I get into my favorite album by this band, I will give you my least favorite albums by this band. I do not like And Justice for All. I've never liked that album. I think it's a terrible sounding album. I think it sounds like it was recorded in a tin can, much like the way Saint Anger sounds. I don't really like that album either. I understand why they needed to make it, just like I understand why they needed to make And Justice for All. That was the album that they made after Cliff was killed. But I hate the way they sound. I don't like the way the bass sounds in Justice. I don't like the way Hetfield's voice sounds in Justice. It sounds like he's almost like he's strangled when he sings. I don't really like most of the songs off of Justice. I do like one. I mean, you know, that's a classic. But none of the other songs have ever really spoken to me. I also hate the album that they did with Lou Reed. That was an interesting experiment. You know, most metal bands would perhaps not go in that direction. They would perhaps not take that kind of chance. So props to them for doing that. And I do think that Lou Reed is brilliant, but that album was definitely not my cup of tea. But it's interesting. I mean, it's interesting that it exists, right? I do really love the Black Album. I know that that was the album that kind of created this divide with a lot of people, but like I said, they have made so many different albums since that album that it's just, the argument back then was, oh, they sold out, which is just dumb. I actually thought it was dumb back then too, but I rarely spoke up about that. So when the Black Album was released in, what was that, 90, 91, that's what kind of created this divide, I think, with fans. A lot of people accused them of selling out. I personally always thought that was kind of stupid. I don't think they had any idea how huge that album was going to be. I also really love the album that is their most recent. It's called Hardwired to Self-Destruct. It's Black Album-ish, but I really think it represents the best of them. There's great guitar solos. Hetfield sounds really good. The songs are really solid. They're strong. They're catchy. They're well written. It just sounds great. It really does. As did the Black Album. The Black Album is, I think, one of the best sounding albums I've ever heard. Bob Rock really worked his magic on that, and I don't know. I feel like whether you hate that album or not, you have to at least admit that it sounds amazing, even if you don't like the songs. But my favorite Metallica album of all time is Master of Puppets. This album was released in March of 1986, and it is my favorite. I don't know if I would say it's their absolute best, but it is my favorite. It is the last album that they did with bassist Cliff Burton before he passed away tragically, and from beginning to end, it is brilliant. It is as melodic and as heavy and as beautiful as a metal album can be, in my opinion. I love every song on there. The only song I'm kind of about would be Leper Messiah. I feel it's probably my least favorite track on the album. I love Battery, I love Damage Inc., I love Orion. I do love the instrumental on Ride the Lightning better, The Call of Cthulhu. I do think that one has a little more personality to it. Orion is a little bit, I don't know if snoozy would be the word. It's not a snoozy song, it's just, I just don't think it has as much punch as the instrumental on Lightning. Weirdly, the first taste I got of this album was on the radio, of all places. They were playing Welcome Home Sanitarium, and I actually didn't know who it was at first, and then found out it was Metallica. And oh my god, I was just like, what is this? Like, my brain was blown out. Like, I was just, oh my god. And that's when I discovered the full album. This was, of course, this was pre-Black Album. This was, I think, shortly before. This was a long time ago. So if I remember correctly, this was right before the Black Album came out. And then, of course, when Sandman was released, everybody went crazy, and that album just exploded in a way that few albums in history ever have. That album was everywhere. The videos were everywhere. They were everywhere. They had that huge tour with Guns N' Roses. And then after the Black Album, they did the Load albums, Load and Reload. And those albums were a violent departure from the Black Album and all the albums previous. To the point where I wasn't even sure it was the same band. I told the story in a previous video, but when I got the Load cassette and I put it in my radio, I swear I thought it was the wrong cassette. I thought that it was like I actually didn't believe that it was Metallica when I first put it on, because I was like, where's Metallica? Because it's so different. I don't know, to go from the Black Album, which is, hard rock. I think it kind of straddles the line between hard rock and metal. To go from that to the Load albums, which are just kind of like basic rock albums. I mean, I understand the difficulty in living up to an album like the Black Album, following something like that, this massive juggernaut. But the departure for me was just like, the hell is this? I remember the first video that they did from the Load album was a video for a song called Until It Sleeps. I actually like that song. I liked that song when I first heard it, but it was during the time of this sort of, more glamorized, it seemed like it was definitely the director's vision and not their vision. They were, they had just had their haircuts. They got a lot of shit for cutting their hair. They were wearing makeup. There was a lot of like, there was just a lot of this like very heavy, obvious mugging and posing that seemed extremely out of character for the band. And I don't know, the band members looked kind of uncomfortable in that video, I have to say. So that's my little Metallica roundup. I'm going to list below my favorite Metallica albums. Obviously, everybody has very different opinions about what's good and what's not. and what's listenable and what's crap, etc., when it comes to this band. I have tried to get some people to listen to the Hardwired album, and they're like, no, Metallica sucks. It's like, okay, y'all need to just chill and just accept the fact that this band has evolved, and you know, this ain't the 90s anymore. Like, we've moved past the whole they sold out thing, and I don't know, it's good. It's a good album. Like, that's it, right? Good music is good music, and so the people that I've tried to get into with that album, they've been so resistant, and I don't know, to me it's just kind of silly. But anyway, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and comment below and tell me what your favorite Metallica album is. I would love to know, and I would love to see you back here for my next video. Take care, bye bye.